Welcome to Workstyle Stories. Because life changes and every life is different, work needs to respect that. This week, we're talking about how we spend our time, in particular, the relationship between work and family life and also travel. And who better to talk to us about that than Ed. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Workstyle Stories. Before we get into your story, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are, and what you do?
So I'm Ed Horrocks. I'm a brand strategist. I'm based in the UK, just outside London. Live outside London with my wife and my 4 children.
4 children. I mean, we'll get on to the bravery involved in that at some point. But you haven't always lived in the UK, have you? Talk to me about kind of life before you came back.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always travelled. So as a young kid, my parents lived abroad. So my wife and I moved to Australia in 2000, and we lived there for 6 years. So
wow.
And then we came back to the UK in 2006.
Awesome. And did you bring children back with you?
We did. So we had two children abroad, and we moved back, and we moved out of our London flat and moved out to the countryside, so we had enough space for the family and stuff. So made the big move.
And presumably you had another 2 kids in mind when you made that move, thinking we're going to need a much more space.
It had been discussed. I'm not sure it was entirely a certainty, but yeah.
Amazing. And obviously the flights to and from Australia would have been prohibitive for 6 of you. So let's talk about your, so when you came back over, what sort of work were you doing? Were you working for a big corporate at that time?
Yes, I mean, I did a little bit of kind of freelance work when I first came back, but I'd been working for one of the big 4 in Australia. And then when I moved back to the UK, with the experience I had, I naturally got drawn back to that sort of corporate world of kind of brand and design, and ended up finding a role in the UK. In London. So, great opportunity. But obviously that comes along with a little bit of travel, should we say?
Comes with some. So let's talk about your travel, and not in a good way. So is this you commuting in and out of London? What was that like?
Yeah, so that sort of trade-off of being able to, have the space meant that I kind of found a job, and the job that I found that I loved, that I wanted to do, was the other side of London. So I was commuting, an hour and 45 minutes, probably on a good day, each way.
Yeah.
So I was spending probably 4 hours, and the the kind of world of the sort of corporate life meant that I was probably leaving the house by 6 in the morning. I was getting home at 9 at night. I was, my winter days on a moped, sort of coming home on the, through the town that we live in. Nobody around, everyone else has gone to bed, and there was me sort of trundling on in the dark on the moped. So
dedicated to your work, Ed. Good for you. So, but you had 2 kids, right? So they probably didn't see you much during the week.
So it was quite, I mean, I hadn't realized quite how bad it had been. But I was talking to my children not that long ago, and the 2 older ones said, yeah, we never saw you during the week. It was just that Daddy wasn't around in the week. And in fact, one of them said this morning, we used to sit on the stairs waiting, hoping that you would make it back before we got to bed. And every now and then I'd make it, and they'd run down the stairs, and too often I didn't. So it felt like a bit of a trade-off, really, to try and keep the sort of corporate job and the well-paid jobs
I think that's a trade-off that a lot of people can relate to, particularly guys. I think can relate to having made that trade-off over the years. So how did you? Obviously something changed. Was it one day just a really terrible commute home that kind of flicked a switch, or did you just think, actually, I'm ready for a different way of living and working? What was yours? How
No,
did
I mean,
things kind of
I
come
think
about?
for me, it was a little bit more gradual in the fact that as we had the younger children, I wanted to spend more time at home. So,
Yeah.
you know, the jobs I was in, there was flexible working to some extent. So gradually I started to get, you know, maybe a day every couple of
Yeah.
weeks I
Yeah.
could work at home in the mornings
Yeah.
or whatever, I'll come in a bit later. So I got a
Yeah.
little bit more flexibility, and I moved jobs to a little bit closer. So I was only traveling in for an hour and a half then every day, which was great. But yeah, no, and then I'd done 2 major rebrands with the 2 companies that I worked with.
Right.
And as that came to a close, yeah, I had the opportunity to go and sort of work and do some work on my own and start my own kind of consulting business. So I was fortunate
Brilliant.
to have some good supporters and some good potential clients that
Yeah.
supported that move, and I you know made the move to go and go and do that and try and spend a bit more time at home.
Brilliant. And I haven't looked back, presumably. So you now have 4 kids. Hopefully they get to see a bit more of you, because you're presumably working at home more.
Yeah, I
So
mean
what's your work style like?
that was really the, you know, the big shift, was being able to come home. And you know, I was still working. I did a little bit of travel, not a huge amount, but actually that 4 hours in the day meant I could take my kids to school. So my son
Yeah,
now
amazing.
is if I can't walk him to school in the mornings, he's like, well, you know, what's going on? Whereas, you know, I feel
That's brilliant.
terrible for my older children, but yeah, you know, to be able to do that and share that work, like that sort of load with my wife. So we now split the drop offs and pickups, and you know, it allows her to work, you know, work a
Brilliant.
full time job as well.
Brilliant. Good on you, Ed. And in terms of your work, are you happy with it? I mean, do you feel like you've compromised your work in order to have this
N-
better life, or how do you feel
yeah,
about it?
not at all. I mean, I think what I've found it does is it's allowed me to really select the work that I love doing, and the clients that I love doing work with. So yeah, so I managed to juggle that work around my life now, and
Mm,
it's become one thing. So basically, if I need time to go to a school play or go for a swim, or, you know,
mm,
or whatever, or even go to, you know, go to hospital with one of the children if they got an appointment
mm,
or something,
mm.
then I can do that, and I work around it. But none of my clients
Yeah.
question whether I'm good at what I
That's,
do, or whether I'm dedicated to
mm.
what they do. So
So you're just redeploying your time in a different way, and it sounds like you're able to achieve a much better balance and harmony within the family by sharing that responsibility with the other half as well,
yeah.
which is brilliant, and, you know, an example for the next generation, of which you will obviously have a vested interest in it. But Ed, look, thank you very much for joining us for Workstyle Stories. It's been great to hear yours. We really appreciate it.
No, it's
And
been a
thank you for
pleasure.
tuning in. We've been Workstyle Stories. We'll
Cool.
see you next time. Bye for now.
Cool. Take care.